Beatles album tier list. Let's get it. Ever since the Kanye one.
Kanye, you're a celebrity!
Literally, I think in the recording of the Kanye one, I was like, I want to do a Beatles album tier list. Or maybe I hinted at it. I think I said there was like a band I want to make a tier list on. I wasn't really that deep into the Beatles lore back then. We're going to do the order from oldest Beatle to newest Beatle, just because I think everybody can agree, for the most part, besides maybe some boomers, that the older albums are worse. Generally worse than the last 5, maybe 6. I don't know, depending on which ones you like. My friend Ian's a big Rubber Soul guy, so I don't know. Some people consider Rubber Soul to be where they started, like, new Beatles, you know what I mean? Some people consider Revolver. I think more people consider Revolver, honestly. So yeah, let's start with Please Please Me. So that's this goofy one. I don't know. This album's, it's pretty good. I am of the opinion that they don't really have any outstanding bangers. Twist and Shout is iconic, but I'm never like, yes, Twist and Shout, come on. Maybe if you're, this sounds so elitist, but maybe if you're like first listening to the Beatles, you're like, yes, Twist and Shout. You know what I mean? Twist and Shout is a banger. Misery, Ask Me Why are pretty good. I would say I'm up for a change. Currently, I'm going to put it in C tier. I think it's below average for a Beatles album, which, I don't know, the boomers in my community are going to be so mad at me for this one. Next one, With the Beatles. Boom. Now, With the Beatles, it's probably one of my most listened to old Beatles albums. I don't know what it is. I think besides, what's the song name? Little Child. Little Child is fucking trash. And it's just this giant fucking anchor on this wonderful album. I don't know why in these videos I always say wonderful. I remember in the Kanye one, I was re-listening to it and I said like wonderfully or some stupid shit like twice. And it was like not, I don't know. But this album is so good. Little Child fucking sucks. I would definitely get this album on vinyl. It's just like love, like old Beatles love song type album, just like turn your brain off, listen to some good music type thing. And when I'm sick of all like the other Beatles, because I listen to the Beatles so often, so whenever I'm sick of the other ones, I come back to this album. And it's pretty consistently good in my opinion. I always skip Little Child because it's like, it's so weird. The Beatles have a couple of those weird fucking songs. You know what I mean? I'll talk about it later, but All My Loving is super good. It Won't Be Long. All I've Got to Do. Till There Was You is so good. I think this is mid-tier for me. I might be biased with this. People who like don't even listen to old Beatles are gonna get mad at me probably for putting in B tier. But it's like one I'm kind of biased towards. I really like this album. Little Child, like I said, just skip that and you're solid. Moving on, another one I kind of like, Hard Day's Night. I don't know. There's just a couple of like really solid songs on the album. This is another one I'm probably biased towards. I don't really know. It's kind of cringe, but I've been listening to, like I said before, a lot of old Beatles, literally just because like I've listened to the really good ones so much that I want some like diversity. And the songs aren't bad. Like it's still the Beatles, and they were still huge back then. You have to remember that they were huge with these albums, and then they stopped performing and made their like god tier albums. So even these like old Beatles ones that some people just like brush off and it's like, oh, it's just old Beatles, like I don't know. they're still solid songs. They're kind of formulaic and sometimes repetitive, but thinking about it, I like Hard Day's Night more than Please Please Me, in my opinion. So I'm gonna keep it there. Fuck my rating. Moving on.
So I don't know why I did this, but I rated the tier list in the wrong order. Like, the best albums are on the right side of the row, instead of the left side. So I don't know. Just keep that in mind. Sorry.
Beatles For Sale. The first song, what is it? No Reply's good. I'm just gonna say right now, this album's D tier. For Beatles albums, I think Beatles For Sale is the worst of all the Beatles albums. It's mainly because I just wouldn't recommend anybody to listen to this album. It still has like some pretty good songs and songs I put on my playlist and enjoy, but this is a Beatles album ranking, and I think the Beatles might be best band of all time. Not very controversial opinion, but this one out of all their albums is the most mediocre. It has some sus songs as well. All the old ones kind of do, even the new ones kind of do, with like, you know. So I'm not that big of a fan of Beatles For Sale. Rock and roll music, 8 days a week, All Follow the Sun, all pretty good songs. I'm a Loser fucking stinks. Besides that, yeah, that's all I really have to say about Beatles For Sale. It's still a good, decent album. Like, it's a Beatles album, so. But would I recommend it to anyone? Probably not. Moving on. Help. Iconic. 2 of the best Beatles songs. Help and Yesterday. 2 amazing songs. The thing is, they're both at the beginning and end of the album. I mean, technically, Yesterday isn't the last song. Dizzy Miss Lizzy is, which I used to like, apparently. I remember liking it, and now I just hate it. As I was saying, Help. Yesterday, The Night Before is pretty good. I Need You is pretty good. Another Girl is good. The album, when I first started listening to the Beatles, and I started listening to older Beatles, because I don't know, I'd listened to the Revolver and Sgt Pepper and all those new Beatles albums too much. My favorite was Help by a long shot. I just thought it was the most consistent out of all of them, and that still kind of holds up. But I don't find myself going back to Help as often as I used to. I still think it's really good, and it's probably better than all the rest up till this point. I'm gonna put it here. Like I said, I just have a strong bias towards With the Beatles. I don't know why. Just, I don't know. Corny ass love songs kind of pulls at my heartstrings a bit. Oh, but Yesterday and Help. Yesterday like boosts this album in like an insane amount. Moving on though, now we're getting a bit more interesting. People are more passionate about these albums. These these 7 albums. Rubber Soul. I'm just gonna say it flat out. Every album from here is gonna be better than the rest. Like, I love old Beatles, and like I said, it's good when you're sick of the new Beatles, because I just listen to Beatles too much. But they just got better and better. Rubber Soul has so many iconic, like, replayable songs, like Michelle, Norwegian Wood, even Drive My Car is kind of funny. It's more memorable. I can name a lot more songs off Rubber Soul than I can Please Please Me, you know what I'm saying? I know I haven't really been saying ratings, but I think I'm gonna give it a solid 8 and slap it in A tier. Maybe 8.5, because it's a super good album. And if you're looking for like kind of old Beatles, kind of new Beatles, it's a really good in between, I think. And I could definitely see myself recommending someone Rubber Soul as like a first Beatles album. One thing about Help and Rubber Soul is the ending of the albums just turns me off from them. Like Dizzy Miss Lizzy and Run for Your Life just like is unsettling. Which I'm glad they put them at the end of the albums, because that makes me more likely to buy the vinyls. Such a nerd thing to say. At least they put them at the end, but it's also sad because then that's like a sour taste in your mouth when you're listening to the album. It's like these. Anyway, moving on. Revolver. I'm gonna just slap it in A tier for now. Revolver, when I first started listening to the Beatles, I said was my favorite Beatles album, and I couldn't say why. I just like, I would go to their Discog and I would click on Revolver and listen to it. Nowadays, I don't know. I feel like I would rather listen to Rubber Soul than I would Revolver, to be honest. The thing about the newer Beatles albums is they don't really have that many bad songs. Like there's not a lot of skips. Revolver, there might be one or two, like that interesting like psychedelic song a lot of people like. Sometimes I skip. Bless me. Overall, solid 8. It's a short album. They all kind of are. Up till this point, I think they're all about like 30 minutes. Pretty good album. I just pop it on. I enjoy it like every time. I think Rubber Soul's better. In my current opinion, I think Rubber Soul's better than Revolver. Next album, Sgt Pepper. Man, it's hard not to give Sgt Pepper anything but an S tier. It's so good. It's such a good album, dude. In my notes, I don't even talk about one of the best parts of the album. Hold on, let me pull this one up on Spotify. See, even their fucking pictures. Sorry, come on, where is that? A Day in the Life. Why did I not even mention A Day in the Life? Okay. Sorry, I'm judging myself from my notes right now. A Day in the Life literally makes this album S tier. I think I don't know, it might be the best Beatles song. Honestly. I think it might be my favorite. Sgt. Pepper is like a lot more theatrical than any other album for sure. Every album before has just been songs placed in an order. Sgt. Pepper, I feel like their order of songs actually matters, and it's more of a performance, and it's really obvious that it's a performance. They shove it in your face. It's like they're like they're like a band in this or whatever. It's hard to describe. You'd have to listen to the album. They literally just shove it in their face. It's like yeah, see, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. And they say that like 5 times. There's like an intro and an outro, like they're performing in the album. It's really cool. It's super experimental. Sgt. Pepper never gets old. I'll throw it on any day of the week and enjoy it. Fucking love Sgt. Pepper. I can't believe this came out when it did. The Beatles, man. Kiss for my boys. The Beatles. Even though some of them are kind of pieces of shit sometimes. That's alright. They make good music. Moving on. Magical Mystery Tour. Don't think I'm ranking it, putting it here. I just want to talk about it for a sec. There's been times in my life where I thought Magical Mystery Tour was my favorite Beatles album. And I say times in my life, it literally flops. Like, Magical Mystery Tour, I either like, I think it's the best Beatles album ever, or I'm like, I could listen to something else. And I honestly don't know why. They have so many good songs. there's like the super solid bangers everybody likes, and then there's like the more experimental bangers that like some people might be like, what the fuck are we listening to? Like I'm the Walrus or whatever. So good. Some people might be like, what is this? Then there's like the solid bangers like Fool on the Hill, Strawberry Fields Forever. I mean, come on. Everybody knows Strawberry Fields. What's it called? Your Mother Should Know. That song's really good. I love Your Mother Should Know. So there's no really like bad songs on this album. There's just some like mid filler songs, in my opinion. Some people might even be mad at me, but I think I'm gonna keep it. I'm gonna keep it in S tier. I think it's low S tier. And shout out my boy Oliver. Give you a fist bump. Fist bump for this one, Ollie. This ranking's for you. He fucking loves this album. His favorite song, I think, is the Walrus one, which I find so funny. Anyway, moving on. Next album, Let It Be. I think this might be my most controversial album opinion. I have my ranking on my notes put as a 7. All my friends really like Let It Be, and I just don't really get it. It was their last album? Yeah, it was their last. They have some solid bangers. It's just like, I don't know, you kind of have to be more patient with this album. It's more of a chill background type album, not so much in your face. It definitely has its place in their discog, and I don't think any album really does the same thing as Let It Be, but it also doesn't really stand out in my eyes. I don't know. 7. I give it a 7. Is it B tier though? Does it belong with these guys? Maybe low A tier? Fuck. Maybe I should have thought about the rankings before I did the video. Let It Be. Yeah, it's low A tier. Yeah, I'm not gonna disrespect it by putting it with these 3. I mean, these 3 are already super good albums. Same with Let It Be, but low A. I'm just gonna leave it at that. Now, moving on. Oh my god. White Album. Now we're getting into like the Beatles albums. Like, I think the most common favorite album to have for the Beatles is White Album and Abbey Road. I think the only downside to the White Album is its album length, and in the past that's why I didn't like White Album as much as I might have liked the others. But now it's literally just like banger after banger. Like, it's a really long album, but it's just like constantly good songs, and it's not like old Beatles where it's like love song after love song type thing. It's like new original banger after new original banger. And White Album for me has had the biggest glow up out of any other Beatles album, because I don't know, maybe it's because when I used to work with my old friends, they would always put on Beatles and Abbey, or before I even liked the Beatles, they would play White Album and Abbey Road over the speakers because it's like good, clean album for work. And I don't know, maybe I was just sick of it, but I would always rate or think of the White Album as kind of a not so great, too long, big time investment type album. but my opinion has completely come full circle. I think White Album has... If somebody told me White Album was their favorite Beatles album, I would not only agree, I would probably... Or I don't know if I would agree, but I would... That's like one of the most respectable choices, in my opinion. It's like The Life of Pablo from my old Kanye video. If White Album's your favorite, I know you're kind of based. You know what I mean? Let's name off some bangers from this album. Rocky Raccoon. I'm So Tired. No, that's not like a common banger. I feel like that's a biased opinion of mine, but I fucking love that song. Blackbird, or is that what it's called? Anyway, Happiness is a Warm Gun, Helter Skelter, Sexy Sadie, bro, While My Guitar Gently Weeps. Anyway, White Album literally has banger after banger. I'm not gonna name all of them. There's so many. Martha, My Dear. Okay, I'm done. All right, next album. Oh wait, I haven't even rated it yet. It's tough because I think White Album is an easy 9.5. Maybe 10. Maybe 10 on a good... I think I'd give White Album a 10. I think White Album is a 10 out of 10 album because of its surprising consistency. For how long of an album it is, it hooks you the entire time. And for them making 30-minute albums for like most of their discog and then going to this, like, let's check how long my album is. It's an hour and 30 minutes. An hour and 30 minutes of bangers. So I'm gonna give this past everything so far. Best album I have mentioned thus far. Now, some of you who don't know much about the Beatles will probably recognize this album. There's a reason Abbey Road is as iconic as it is, because this album is so fucking good. I don't know how I didn't see it in the past. Abbey Road is like what White Album is, but every song you listen to is an absolute fucking banger, dude. Like, it can stand alone by itself, and it's just a fucking amazing... Like, any song you choose from this album is just so fucking good. Abbey Road, it's iconic. It's short and sweet, unlike White Album. I think it's like 45 minutes, maybe. I'm not gonna check, but it's like a decent length, and when it's over, you're like, fuck, can I have more? Okay, also, I should mention, 10 out of 10 album. Like, I don't see a flaw with this album. You could find flaws with White Album. Abbey Road, I just don't see it. I want to go through and look through the songs just to prove how fucking good every song from this album is. Come Together. Who doesn't like fucking Come Together? Something? It's giving me like goosebumps just thinking about it, dog. Maxwell's Silver Hammer. This was my favorite Beatles song for a long time. Apparently, people don't like it as much as I do, according to Spotify's like plays, but Maxwell's Silver Hammer is like so good. Oh Darling, Octopus's Garden, She's So Heavy, Here Comes the Sun, because is another personal favorite of mine. It's kind of embarrassing, but before I even like listened to the Beatles at all, I listened to somebody's cover of Because, and I didn't even know it was like a Beatles cover. And I would listen to that song like on loop, and it's so fucking good, dude. Carry That Weight. This album never falls off. Abbey Road, 10 out of 10. 1969, you already know what it is. Abbey Road, Beatles, forever. I just want to preface that all of these albums are good. Every album on this list is so good. The Beatles, there's a reason my last.fm. Let me show you my last.fm. Top artists. Okay. Okay. This is so fucking funny to me. Look, is this the last 7 days, bro? Holy fuck. Now let's go to all time. Holy shit, dude. So if I feel like my opinion's justified for all these Beatle albums. Look at this shit. Anyway, thanks for watching my goofy little video. I hope this turns out well. I hope I didn't fuck anything up and I have to redo or make notes and post about any of this stuff. But yeah, thank you everybody for watching, and see you in a year or so.